the studio has been heating the F up. We have started to get week over week, very, very busy with not only Zoom audition sessions where we connect with people remotely via Zoom to help them record and submit their own professional auditions, but our physical studio here in Toronto has also been very busy. And that's a function of new projects and new productions either coming back from the Christmas break or just starting a new season or a new pilot season being filmed. It always slows down from December to like mid-December to middle to the end of January. Things get a little slow industry-wise, but now they have been heating up. That's why Brandon's so tired, because he's doing sessions at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., sometimes up until 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and I don't think he sleeps. So I just I pump him full of coffee and somehow
send him back into the room.
Somehow he's still standing. So as a result of that, and I know as an actor, sometimes the most frustrating thing to hear, especially when you're not getting auditions, you hear like, oh, it's so busy. Oh, it's really busy right now. Oh, it's really busy. And then you're like, well, it doesn't seem busy because I haven't had an audition in a little while. So there's something that you can be doing proactively as an actor, and that's actively seek out and find out what productions are shooting in your city. And that's a very easy thing to do. You heard of a thing called Google?
No.
Am I pronouncing it right? Google?
I believe it is Google, yes.
Google, yeah, like Michael Bublé.
Mm-hmm.
You can Google it.
Yeah.
I believe it's spelled Google, Google, with an accent aigu over the E, Google. Yeah, like, and we were joking before this too, Brandon. I feel like fucking Google is the answer to anything. Like, if you were going to ask a human something, it's like, shouldn't you just have asked the algorithm first? Like, sometimes I get frustrated. People ask me for directions. I'm like, why the fuck are you asking me for directions? There's a supercomputer that knows exactly what's happening in real time everywhere and can pinpoint it to the meter or to the foot where you need to be and where you want to go. And you're asking a human, like, oh, once you pass the train tracks, you've gone too far. Look for the big tree and the pink sign. It's like, no, ask the algorithm. So you can ask Google, go into Google, type in your city, type in what shooting or films that are shooting in my city. And another great resource, depending on what country you're in, your acting union. In Canada, it's ACTRA. In the States, it's SAG-AFTRA. Mm-hmm. So they all have websites. And in all those cities, there will be a page. Often it's also, the other spot is your municipality's website itself. So your city's website, they have a film permit section. Oh. And often it's just there. They list all of the productions, whether it's TV, whether it's film, when the shoot starts, when it ends, based on the permits. I know on the ACTRA website, it often lists who the casting director is as well. Yep. It often lists who the background casting director is as well. Mm-hmm. So why is that important? Well, you want to be working. So if you're sitting around being like, well, why am I getting auditions? Meanwhile, there's millions and millions and billions of dollars being pumped into the film industry right in your backyard, unbeknownst to you, maybe. Go on that website, figure out what's shooting, and you can look at some of those shows and be like, man, that's the show that I always wanted to get on. I'd be great for that show. Maybe something about you, like, say it's a period piece and there's a lot of horseback riding or sword fighting, and you're an expert in equestrian and you're an expert in stage combat and sword fighting, then that's maybe a show you'd want to get on. So you find that out. If you have an agent, then you send them an email, say, hey, I noticed show XYZ is in town. That's one of my dream shows. Can we make a pitch to this casting director and figure out how to get me an audition and get me in the door? Again, under the heading of decide what you want and say yes to that, and then go out and fight for that and say no to the things that you don't want. Mm-hmm. And you don't get a whole lot in life just by sitting on your hands waiting for somebody to email you to give you an opportunity. So don't wait for a gatekeeper to open the gate. Just kick down the fucking door or go around the side, find a window, dig a tunnel under the building, hook yourself up with a grappling hook, or hop a helicopter ride and just jump out of the helicopter and land on the roof. Whatever you need to do. And
whatever it takes
to do it is just Google it. You could just Google it. But yeah, find out what's shooting in your city and then literally go through every casting director and figure out with your agent, if you do have an agent, figure out what relationships you have and say, oh, I noticed she hasn't seen me for this. Have you submitted me for it? Maybe your agent says, yes, I have submitted you and we haven't got the call yet. Or maybe she says, oh, crap, you know what? I hadn't submitted you for that. Let's do it. And she puts a little extra pitch, and a couple days later, you're submitting a self-tape and booking the role of your dreams. Now, if you're unrepresented, then you got to be a little more creative there. So if you don't have an agent, you find out what is shooting in your area. Maybe you can find out who the producers are. Maybe you do find out the casting directors, and you send a very polite pitch of yourself. Like, hey, I noticed that this is shooting in my area. I'm an actor. Here's my resume. Here's my demo. This is one of the shows I wanted to work on. You got to be tactful with that, but certainly you don't want to not do anything out of fear, like, oh, what if I ruffle the wrong feathers? Well, you're not getting the audition anyways if they don't know you exist. So you might as well take a shot. Just be smart about that, how you do that, so that you don't come across as a crazy person. And then be a little persistent too. So if you don't get an answer, maybe a month or two later, you send another update. Say, hey, I just wanted to reach out again. I hope the casting is going great for season 2 of XYZ show. Wanted to give you an update. I got a live theater performance updating, or that's coming out next week. Here's a pair of tickets for you and a loved one to come check it out. Also, I was on this show a few weeks ago and it came out. Here's a new clip. Would love an opportunity to read for an upcoming role in XYZ show. However you do it is a little up to you, and that's debatable. But the main thing is be doing something rather than waiting for things to happen and lamenting why it's not happening.
Yeah, and because then you can study the things that are shooting in your area, so that way you know what the tone is, what kind of tropes do they like to use, like how can I navigate my way through what's shooting in my area right now, so that way when you get that audition, you're ready to go and you're already prepped for that because you already have it in your mind. Okay, I've done my research. I've done my homework on this. Now I can go in, feel good about myself, and just do the audition, feel really great about my choices, and send it off, knowing that I've done all that other work before even filming it. So It's always a good idea to have that knowledge, because knowledge is power, of what is shooting in your area.
Right. Knowledge is power if acted upon. That's the little addendum to knowledge is power.
That's a good ending for that.
Knowledge on its own is debatably worthless. Knowledge is power if it's then executed on or implemented, or like fitness, for example. Yeah, everyone knows move more, eat better food, you're going to be healthier. But knowing that is not enough. You actually have to eat good food, and then you got to move your body a little bit. Yes. What was I going to say? Yeah. So that in that example, maybe you find out that there is a period piece that's shooting and it's British accents. So maybe you bone up on your British RP accent, or whatever the accent may be, or if it's certain skills, or if your real thing is like military tactical stunts and fights and things like that, and you find out that a show like The Boys or something more action oriented, Titans, for example, then you figure out where your skill set matches what's shooting, and then you can really make a full pitch at it. Just like when you get a breakdown from your agent, should be looking at who the producers are, who the writers are, who the directors are, who the casting director is. Watch a few episodes so you start to figure out the world and the tone, so that you don't ever miss a massive opportunity just because you hadn't figured out the tone of the show. For example, a great example, which if you didn't get this, you would blow your audition. Often they'll tell you in the breakdown if it's something special, but the show C that I did the day on with Jason Momoa's show, everyone except for 2 characters does not have their sight. So everyone is visually impaired. So if you walked in and you're in an audition, you're actively using your eyes and doing hand gestures that someone with sight would see, right away the casting director is going to be like, this person has no idea what they're auditioning for. They don't understand the world. They have never seen it. And they're not going to bring you in because your audition is not going to make any sense. So they're gonna be like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would we ever have you? So do your research, and make things happen. And then the other part where this falls into is the idea of manifesting things. When there's things that you really want, the more energy you put towards them, even saying them out loud, writing them down, that hour or two that you're spend researching, I'm a believer that that's planting these seeds into the universe, and things then can magically start to align, where the next thing you know, you are getting that audition for this dream show. Or maybe you even take it one step farther. You look at that show and you find old scripts online. Maybe you find an old monologue and you're working on a monologue from that show. Mm-hmm. Someone, Erin Reed in our class today, she did a monologue from Succession. It's a show she loves. She really liked the monologue. Sometimes there's a caveat of working on things that are too popular or too mainstream, but the monologue she took, it was great and she crushed it. And that's something that could get her closer to that world in real life, where all of a sudden she's getting an audition because she's putting specific energy towards the Succession world. So never underestimate the power of actually doing something instead of just waiting and wondering, how come I'm not getting an email from Hollywood? How come Doc Hollywood? How could
they not have discovered me yet?
Yeah, I go to a coffee shop and sit there every day, and not one Hollywood producer has noticed me. Yeah, it makes it happen. And we do that a lot less in Canada, I think, because we're so polite, and we feel like sometimes it's rude or cocky, or you don't want to cross that line of being confident to being cocky and, what will people think? Man, it's your life. So you got to decide what you want. And if you're more concerned about people looking at you from the outside and thinking, oh, that guy, he's too this or that, versus being concerned about what you want in your real life, you're going to have an unhappy life, because you're going to spend all your time worrying about what other people think of you, and not a whole lot of time figuring about what do you want in your life and how do you go out and fight for it until you get it.